Clare's minor footballers also in action this weekend. They go to Tubbercurry to take on Sligo on Saturday. Joe Hayes joins me now. And Joe, a fresh opportunity for the squad to make a run at some silverware this year.
Yeah, listen, there. I suppose the Munster campaign is over now, so this the Tier 2 All Ireland is on the horizon. Third year in a row drawing Sligo, so we're kind of, I suppose, you can nearly have guessed we were going up there. But listen, we met at the weekend there. We gave the lads a few days off after the Kerry game. We met at the weekend, and we'll train again this week, and we'll go up and see how we go. So it's hard to know what way. I suppose lads are heads are for it. I think we should be up for the fact it's tier 2 and we got more than the 5 day break than we got last year. Last year we only got a 5 day break and it was tier 3, and I just don't think there was any hunger across the board. So hopefully that there's a bit of hunger this year now, and we go up and give a really good account and a good performance.
And it's only natural to expect familiar competition in Munster, but the same opposition 3 years in a row, I suppose you'd have your homework done on them as much as it's possible at an underage grade.
Yeah, well, listen, I suppose every minor team is different every year because obviously our lads are over age and stuff. But we've a bit of work done on these lads now over the last couple of days. They had a really, really good Connacht campaign. Very unlucky not to be in the Connacht final. Beat Mayo in an extremely good game with a last second kick to win it by a pint. Really good performance against Galway and Ross Tomlin, who ended up winning it. So they're a real good physical team with some very nice footballers. One or two lads that are underage again that we faced last year. So listen, it's going to be a difficult game, but I suppose our goal as a group, we met on Saturday, as I said, and our goal in the group was to see. We didn't mention anything about silverware or cup. We said, listen, we're in the top 20 in Ireland now. We're in a tier 2 that's number 20 to up to number 9. Because obviously the top 8 are in tier 1, and we'll just see how far can we go from 20 up towards 9. That's kind of the goal. So we win the weekend, we go into top 16, and you win the following weekend, you're going into top 12 and so on. So that's probably our goal, just to see how far we can climb during this tier 2. And if we come up short on Saturday but we play our best stuff, so be it. So we'll just see how we go then.
And you mentioned the decent performances that Sligo have had this year. They're a team that have been really strong at underage, both at minor and 20 over the last couple of years.
Yeah, they are. And the one thing that hit me the last 2 years, last year up in Sligo and the year before in the park, was how much more physical they were than the Clare minors. Hugely physical. And that isn't done in just minor grades. That is done from 14s up, possibly in the schools. So and looking at their results this year and looking at a few clips that we have on them, it looks no different. Some big physical men around the middle and around the half forward line. A real good inside line, and a very good and fast and quick thinking goalkeeper who gets his kickouts out fairly fast.
And if you look at the two provinces, they're kind of almost a team for Clare to emulate. When you look at the battling they've done with the big hitters in Connacht, Galway, Mayo, Roscommon, something for Clare to emulate with Cork and Kerry below in Munster.
Yeah. Listen, possibly, I suppose. I saw their winning point against Mayo, and huge celebrations on the field after. Number one, because of the circumstances and the way they won it. It was an unbelievable way to win it. And number two, I suppose, they weren't expected to win it. They probably weren't expected to win it because people would say, oh, it's Sligo versus Mayo. But Sligo underage football, as you mentioned already, have been going fairly well over the last number of years. And they've been competitive, and they have won and contested Connacht championships underage. So listen, I will put it down to the two teams on Saturday, just who approaches it, I suppose, with that bit more hunger and that better maybe attitude to see how far they can go in it. The Munster campaign's over. It's done. It went quite well. It didn't go perfect. We learned a few lessons in it, but it did go quite well. And obviously the group winning Darrell Darcy was a huge lift for him and a bit of silverware for him. But now you have to turn your attention to another competition, and there can be no kind of hangover over it, or else you're just wasting your time. So, listen, I just want us to be competitive. I want us to have a right crack at it. I want us to do all the things that we've been trying to do right in the last over the Munster campaign. I want us to try and do them right again and have a really good attitude. And if that happens, who knows what'll happen, you know.
You kind of touched on it there, like this side have played a lot of football this year, and at the underage grade, that's kind of the main thing, is to get as many games into these boys as you can.
Yeah, it is. It is. Listen, we entered the Leinster League. We did it last year as well. I thought it was a huge, worthwhile experience, because I suppose the Leinster League does allow you to get game time into all your panel. Because, you know, my goal certainly isn't to win any Leinster League. My goal is to try and get as much game time into my whole 34, 35 man panel. Because unfortunately, Darragh, when it comes to the Munster Championship, you know, while it's still about development, you know, you do want to go out and you do want to do well, and you want to be competitive and you want to win. So I suppose, listen, there just unfortunately isn't game time for everyone during the Munster Championship, and that is the hardest thing to deal with at minor level. It's the hardest thing to deal with as a management team. You know, that there is unfortunately probably 4 to 5 lads that haven't got into a squad since the minor championship has started, and it's hard to keep them going, I suppose, and keep their football skills up, because they're missing out on competitive action. Joe, you're releasing them back to the clubs when the clubs have a game. Joe, I released all the 16s back to the 16 team last weekend to make sure they, number one, got a bit of football, and number two, Joe, it's important that they integrate with their own age group as well, that they just don't forget about them. So that's probably the most difficult part. But Joe, on the other side, then, Joe, we've 12 competitive games played this year. Joe, 12 competitive games played over a 14-week period, where some lads have got exposed to huge amounts of football and high intensity stuff. So again, yeah, it is about development and getting games into them, but unfortunately, it just can't. There comes a time, I suppose, that some lads just kind of don't get as much game time as they would like.
And just finally, you touched briefly there on the importance of parking the Munster campaign. We might just touch on that Kerry game. You stuck with them for a long way, and that paired with the Darrell D'Arcy success, there is reason, for, as you mentioned already, for optimism from this campaign, no matter what happens in Sligo on Saturday.
Yeah, like we were very disappointed last year at Darragh, like the management team and the lads that were underage. Joe, that came back this year, Shane and Jack Lavin and Michael Normile, Dan Healy. Joe, that we were very disappointed last year that we missed out on the Darrell D'Arcy, and it kind of took from the rest of the year, if you know what I mean. We kind of never really recovered from it. So listen, I was delighted for them lads to kind of rectify last year, and delighted for my management team as well. But winning it kind of just gave us a bit of a oomph going into the Kerry game, I suppose. And as you said there, listen, yeah, for 40 minutes, really, really good. For 50 minutes, I suppose, reasonably good. And then just them, 9 or 10 minutes at the end, I suppose, listen, we went down a man, which didn't help, obviously, but I suppose, listen, we just got a run on us, and we kind of ran out of a few ideas, and we just, the kind of gates kind of opened up a small bit. But again, listen, that's for us to try and fix as a county, and for all our development squad coaches to try and keep working on closing that gap, and putting in firming that belief in our underage players that, that's the goal we want to go to, is to, number one, be competitive, and number two, let's try and beat one of the top teams. But listen, we'll just keep plugging away at it anyway for the moment.